And what we're going to do now is we are going to edit this photo. We're going to zombify this photo. So the workspace that you should be in is if you go to Window, Workspace, and it is a little laggy, so I apologize. But you go Window, Workspace, and you want to be in your photography workspace, which is what I'm in already. So, and the main tool that we're going to be using at first, well, I'm going to crop this down because I don't need to have like all this space. It'll just make the computer and your redrawing like slower. So the first tool that we're going to use is the burn tool. The burn tool is right here, and it looks like kind of like this. It looks like you're making like this kind of a symbol. And that's because in the past, when you went to go make a, make a sort of a print of a photograph, if you wanted an area to be darker, you would protect everything else that is fine and just let the light hit the area that you wanted to be darker. And so you would consequently like have like some kind of mask or shape there. The burn tool, if you have trouble finding it, is usually, or is always rather, under the dodge tool or under the sponge tool. So it just depends on what you have. Now, what the burn tool does is just like with the dodge tool, you can use it on highlights or shadows. Let's do it on shadows first. And you pick that right here. So I'm hitting it on shadows, and I'm going to make my brush just a little larger so that we can see it better. I can also adjust the exposure. I'm going to go ahead and push the exposure up 100% because what we want to do is kind of make the flesh look a little more like burned or chromatically intense, right? And you can see where I'm like, it looks like I'm burning the side of my face, right? So I can darken in around the eyes. I can darken in these areas, but it should be doing just kind of, now I'm kind of pushing this really far so that you guys can see it a little better on your end. I'm even going to come in here and burn in the neck a little bit, and I should burn in the ear. So anyways, all right, so this is just, so far I'm using just the burn tool. Now I realize that on your screen, this is going to look a little more, there's going to be a lot more reds and oranges and everything, but we're going to back that up a little bit. So let me see. Okay. Yeah, that is funny. So anyways, now if I use my burn tool on the midtones, this is what I'm going to get. So I'm going to use it right here on my nose. And you can kind of see where it does kind of like adjust a little bit in the midtones. Like I don't really like that. I'm just trying to show it to you, see what it looks like. But when we do it on the highlights, it's really going to just kind of make the highlights look gray. So I don't know if you can see that, but it really is just kind of making it gray. And so that usually isn't going to work for what we're trying to do. Now, by the way, at the end of all this, I'm actually going to go into my image, adjust brightness and contrast, and I'm going to actually bring my contrast down a little bit. And so it's going to show, it's going to just be like more faded out. But for right now, this is fine. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, for now, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my eyes. So this is where it's going to get weird, so I apologize. I'm going to make my background a layer, and I'm going to say OK. And now that I have a layer, I can come in here, and I can do one of two things. I mean, I can use my eraser if I want to, and I can just kind of erase literally like my eyeball section, or I can come in here with my lasso tool or my polygonal lasso tool, which I think is what I'm going to use. And I'll just do this real fast. Again, I expect yours will probably turn out a little better. I'm just trying to do a quick demo for you. And I know what you're saying, Mr. T, you're trying to make this picture creepy. It's already creepy. I know that. I know. I've heard it all. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this away. Let me see, delete that. Now, it is hard edged, so I am going to go back and I'm going to soften those edges in a little bit as I get a little further down. So, and again, I'm just going to, I only have one layer so far, and I'm just kind of getting rid of this eyeball thing. So that's nice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in to my Safari and I'm going to look up pigeon eye. Pigeon eyes. And I'm going to go to images. And let's pick a creepy looking pigeon eye. Actually, this one looks like it might work. So I am literally going to take this eyeball, click and drag it and drop it right in. Now it's giving me this message. It says it's a different color space. Just say okay. So now that I brought this in, I'm going to drop the opacity, or I'm going to multiply it, and I'm going to scale it down. And I'm going to rotate it. Now, it is like a circle, but you know, oh yeah, that's going to be nice. And then I can duplicate this layer. Bring it over here. Oh yeah, that's looking good. Okay. And then I can do that. Now, this is what we've got. And then if I drag this layer on top, well, then now we have something like that. And of course, I can come into each one of these layers with my my dodge and burn tool, and I can burn these eyes, make it like that. And I can create another layer on top of this, and with my brush tool, and please let me know if I'm going too fast. Oh, I'm not making anybody uncomfortable. So anyways, I'm going to do a soft brush, and I'm going to put a little shading right up here. But since it's on its own layer, I can drop the opacity. I can get it like that, right? And get it to where I want it to be. I can also go filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I can blur it up if I want to, just to make it even that much more softer. Okay. Now, again, I should spend more time on this. I should probably go back here and like into this part. I'm going to grab my eraser tool. I'm going to make sure I have a soft brush, and maybe I will adjust the flow of my eraser down to maybe 40%, and then come back here and touch up where I kind of chopped with my polygonal lasso tool and make it softer. So you see now where I can come back in here and make this a softer edge. Now, doing this, it actually makes me see that I probably need to come back in with my paintbrush and drop my, well, I'll keep the opacity up, but I'll drop the flow down. And I'm going to make my brush a little smaller, and maybe, oh, that's not going to work. Let's keep the flow up and the opacity down.
Wait, Mr. T.
Uh-huh.
So to soften it, you like erased it? Like, how did you soften it again?
Yep. So let me turn off the eyes. So what I did is I just grabbed my eraser tool, and I adjusted, instead of saying like, instead of having it be like 100%, which would look like this, and I have a soft brush, I went down, I made my flow down to like 40%, which should give me, I might even have to go a little lower. So that's what I did. I just kind of hit it like that and just softened it up a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll turn that back on. Now, here's the other thing. So now let's think about like drawing in some blood, right? So I want to be weeping from my zombie eyes. I want to be having blood come out of my eyes. Boy, this is going to be a bad Zoom recording taken out of context. So anyways, what I want to do is I'm just going to pick a red color. I'm going to go to color libraries. I'm going to go to Pantone, and I'm going to pick 200. So right in this 200 area, I'm going to pick that color. So PMS 200. And now with my paintbrush, now, and here's the key, guys. If I'm going to be bleeding out of my eyes, it's not going to go like this, right? Just kind of straight. down. Let me up the flow so you can see that a little better. It's not just going to be like that or like that or like that, right? That is not going to work. What I need to do, and number one, I'm going to go ahead and multiply this. What I need to do is I want to, 41, I want to follow the contours of my face, right? So basically, like if I've got blood coming out, I'm going to want to follow like my fat cheeks down, right? Something like that. And like if blood is going to be coming out, let me spin this around right here. So blood is going to be coming out of my tear duct right here. I'm probably going to want it's going to come out, and I'm imagining that it's probably going to follow this crease, and it's on a separate layer. So I can go back and erase it. So I'm going to follow this crease. It's probably going to puddle a little bit right here in this pouch of fat on my face. And then it's going to go down, and it's going to follow the cheeks and then kind of go down like this. So, and it might puddle and go this way a little bit. And again, I'm just kind of playing around with it. And it might, if it's coming out the sides of my eyes, it may come out a little bit like that. And it may, come down and kind of like disappear around that edge, etc. And I'm going to put kind of a lot on here just to give you guys an idea. So again, if I'm coming down this way and I've got like, and this is where your artist's interpretation or your artist's eye is going to come in. If I want to come out of my nose, as my brain matter is turning to liquid, and maybe it's going to come down like that. Now I can go back easily and erase this layer. Of course, I have my eraser set to be like really a flow of 9. So make it a little bigger. And like I said, I can get where I'm overlapping my glasses like that. Make sure this is right. And I can also come back in and duplicate this layer. And you see where it got darker when I duplicated it? Maybe I'm going to come back in with my eraser, and on areas where I want it to be like highlighted or like little, what would be highlights, I can come back and erase from one of the layers and just make it slightly lighter in some areas. Now, of course, I've got some problems here because blood wouldn't just go on top of hair like that, but most of you don't have beards, so you should be okay when you're doing this. Also, I do need to erase here, and I need to erase here. Now, one other thing that I can add is I grab my paintbrush and I go with white, and I have kind of a smaller kind of tip. I could come in here, and this is on a separate layer, and I can give myself a couple of cracks in my glasses, right? And cracks kind of just, they just go off. There's going to be thicker areas where it's reflecting more light and areas where it's not.
Did you just change the color and like the size of your brush to do that, or did you do any other? Okay.
Yeah. And like, for example, now that I've got like this part of the cracks, I'm going to go back with black, and I'm going to move the flow down a little bit. And if we zoom in, I'm going to come in because, even cracks would have like, they would cast some kind of shadow in there. And again, this isn't fantastic, and I'm kind of rushing it just to give you guys some ideas. But, for those of us who are optically blessed enough to get to wear glasses in this day and age, you might want to put something in there. So, and then because it's on a separate layer, I can actually drop the opacity down. So it can either be high opacity or low opacity. In fact, I can duplicate this layer. And on the second layer, I can maybe up the opacity and then come back in with my eraser tool and kind of, you know, have something like that. So I don't know. Now here's the other thing. I'm going to go through, and now you know how to draw blood and everything, but let's add some missing skin, right? So I'm going to go back to Safari. And of course, this is just like a fun exercise of using Photoshop and everything. I don't recommend that you go in and steal stuff, but let's look up rotting flesh. Let's do makeup, just to be on the safe side, because who knows what'll happen if I hit rotting flesh and then, you know, whatever. But let's go to images. And let's take a look at this one. And that's pretty good. That's nice. That's makeup, right? So again, I'm just going to click it, drag it, bring it into here, which it should go. Do you want to convert the colors? Yes. So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to trim out a lot of it. And I'm doing that by just making a selection, inverting the selection by going select, inverse, and then I'm going to hit delete. Okay, so now, just like earlier, I'm going to multiply this layer and I am going to bring it to where I think I'm going to use it. So I'm going to put it on my incredibly soft, squishy cheeks. So I'm going to double click that to get it going. And then I'm going to turn off the multiply for a second, make it normal. And I'm going to use my eraser tool. Again, this time I'm going to make my eraser brush slightly bigger. And it's a soft, round brush. And I'm going to make the flow lower, because what I eventually want to do is have kind of a soft edge around it. Okay, so now I can maybe drop the opacity, or I can go multiply, which actually multiply is working, looks pretty good. And then I can go back under here and I will grab my eraser tool again, but this time I'm going to make the brush.
Mr. T, zoom back out.
Yeah,
No.
I know. It's okay. You guys are going to be doing this. It's fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, on this layer, I'm going to erase where the glasses would be. I can see I did not do it. Good job. I'll have to go back and fix that. But anyways.
So what was it was the dodge and burn tool that we had to use last year, right? To like darken the skin to make it look like kind of worn down.
Yes.
Okay.
And so now I'm going to grab my soft eraser, make it a little larger, because evidently I didn't do that good of a job going around here. And I'm going to put it under my cracks in the glasses. And so actually that's not too bad looking, although stylistically I think the cracks shouldn't be like, everything shouldn't be like in that area. So maybe I'll turn it around and move this. So unless maybe that's why my face is like all messed up there, because I got hit in the glasses, who knows. So now I'm going to go back to my original picture, my original layer, and I'm going to go back and do a little more of the dodging and burning. Come back, darken like some of these areas in here. Do that. Now you'll see that I'm looking really red, like really reddish. So actually what I want to do is I want to go in the other direction, and I'm going to go image, adjust, hue and saturation. By adjusting the hue and saturation, what I can do is, and I'll show you the extreme examples of it. Number one, I can change the hue if I wanted to. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all, right? So I can change the hue if I wanted to, or I don't want to do that. I can adjust the saturation. I can either make it way saturated, or I can make it unsaturated, and kind of, you'll see that I'm keeping the colors in the eyes because they're on a separate layer, but I'm kind of like making that flesh go away. Now the problem is it's taking the color out of the shirt and everything too. So I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to come back here and use my lasso tool. And this is going to be really rough, but I'm just showing this as a demo. Let's see. Now if I go image, adjust, hue, saturation, and I bring that back, it should hopefully be just doing, I mean, I know I'm grabbing the glasses and everything, but you know, I can kind of just make my skin look a little weirder. So like this. Now, the other thing that we can do is I can come in and I'm going to make another layer up here. I'm going to use my gradient tool, and I'm going to pick this gradient, and I'm going to go from here to here, and I'm going to multiply it, and I can come to this gradient layer and make it a nice large eraser brush, kind of just erase right around here. So, but anyways, you get the idea. So, and I think, I mean, it's not great, but it's pretty cool. I think it gets the right kind of thing around there, the right effect. So what do you guys think? Any questions about this?